tell a little bit about their path to law school, and then we can kind of open it up for some questions. So I guess we'll start with Roxana.
Hi, my name is Roxana Alchin. I'm a 4L. Do you want to see our background?
Yeah.
I graduated from St. Mary's College of California with a BA in economics. I took about 4 years off to work and had a little bit of a career before I came to law school. It was always something that I wanted to do, but I felt having real world experience would be good. Currently, right now, I am at the DA's office. I'm a law clerk, and I really enjoy that. And upon passing the bar in July, hopefully, that's what I want to do.
Hi everybody, my name is Andrew. I go by Drew, obviously. I am from San Jose, California. I graduated from CSU Fresno with my undergrad in criminology. The plan for me originally was to go into law enforcement. It was about late in my undergrad studies where I decided I wasn't going to be part of my life and I didn't want to do that anymore. My background, I worked in restaurants since high school, and so I grew up in the restaurant industry, and I did that, got into management for a couple years, and then I realized I didn't want to do that either. So a couple years after my undergrad, I decided I always wanted to go back to school, whether it was master's or law school. It seemed like the only classes I really enjoyed in my undergrad were my law-related classes. I had a judge, Judge Vicasi's out in Madera County, and he stopped me after class and he convinced me to do the LSAT and to check out one of these forums like you guys are at. And the rest is history. I'm in my 4th year. I'll be graduating in May, taking the bar in July. And I do work. I work in civil practice. I do have some background in criminal defense also in my law school career. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
My name is Lacey Barnes, not with an E. Diana always does that, but that's okay. The Lacey Barnes that if you Googled with an E, she's blonde, porn star, not me. I'm just saying. Not me.
I understand why the E is important now.
It is important. Yes. I actually finished my master's degree after my bachelor's degree and my PhD, and then I decided I wanted to go get more letters, and so I came to law school. And I chose to come to law school because my current job, of which I'm in, and I have been in since we all came to San Joaquin the same year, so I'm in my 4th year as well, is faculty at State Center Community College District. I taught at Reedley, but now I'm at the Madera Center. But I was union president, am union president. My term ends very soon. Smile. I thought I could represent my members a little stronger if I knew a little bit about the law. I'm talking about contracts, I'm negotiating, and so as a result of that, I thought I would, instead of take a class, take a program. Foolish. However, here I am, and I'm glad that I did. I had no idea if I would actually go into law after I finished, which is, I guess, an example of different than the two. Most people say, don't do it if you don't plan on going into it. But for me, it was about learning, and it was about the knowledge, and it was about a way of thinking. I'm a psychologist. If you say something in 30 words when you could have done it in 2, if you don't do that, you're not trying hard enough. It is the exact opposite in law, and I wanted that skill. I wanted to round myself out and be just below average in that regard. And so that's why I went to law school. I have had the opportunity to do an externship with a federal magistrate here in town, and I know now that I will actually go into law and I will do some research. I would love to be in a room just in books and reading all day and writing. And so that's me.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Anything you want to ask the students? I have questions if you don't have questions, but I know somebody has a question.
I have a question. So I don't know about all of you, but I know Lacey, you obviously work full time. What is your weekly or monthly, study commitment?
It has been a challenge. I will not lie to you. It has been worthwhile, mind you. When I first started, it was, I think, worse than now, but the best assignment that was given in our legal methods class was to write out a schedule. And you literally had to write out when it is you were going to study for this class, for that class, for this, and do all, and get it all in. I had actually put my husband on a schedule. We were going to date on Wednesday night. That was it. That's when I was going to see him. And that was the only way I think it worked. My weekends are really for my schoolwork, because I really do have a job that it was beyond 40 hours a week, unfortunately. I gave up sleep, and I work on weekends sometimes. Fortunately, my job is flexible such that I could, if I had to work Saturday and Sunday, I could try and figure out a Monday or some day through the week that wasn't packed with meetings that I could bail on and manage my time that way. But that flexibility of being released and a president, I was able to kind of make my schedule and get it all done. So that's that assignment, I think, for me, working really made the difference, and it was truly about time management.
Does anybody else have thoughts on study time management, kind of your work?
Yeah, I can comment on that. So I remember that assignment. I think you even had a lot of time to figure out when you have to eat, and I remember I was like,
Yes.
I have to find time to eat because I forgot that part.
Right.
And right.
I did lose weight.
Yeah, right. And so for me, I like I said, my background was restaurants. So when I started law school, I took myself down to getting behind the bar again, and so that worked out great for me. I would work Friday through Sunday nights at the bar, and I would have another part-time job. I've been working here at the, for example, I've been working here at the library as a proctor since my first year. So I do that a couple days out of the week. It's a great excuse to get paid and work on school. And then it wasn't until my second year where I actually started getting some practical experience in the law, working for a firm or a public defender's office in Tulare County. And that's when it really started getting challenging. So I was, juggling almost 3 part-time jobs on top of law school, on top of, the relationships and family. Luckily for me, I'm the only person in my family that lives here in Fresno, so at least it gives me an excuse to, hunker down and not spend time with them. But then, again, I guess that's the part that I do miss. I'm looking forward to beginning that part of my life again. But yeah, it's no joke. You have to be very serious about your time management. It probably wasn't a skill that I mastered until I began law school or even really practiced at all. Yeah, I think we kind of did the same thing. Me and my girlfriend, we picked a date where we went out on dates. Luckily, she started a master's program, so us being so busy still works out great. And that's kind of the same story.
To piggyback off that, I worked full-time my first and second year. I was in HR, so working 8 to 5 and then 6:30 to 9:30 class Monday through Thursday. So it can get really tiring. It's a trying time. First year especially, you're trying to find time to allocate to what subject, when you're going to do it, with the stress of also trying to pass your first year and then figuring out, how do I understand this material as well. It's definitely different than undergrad. A lot of people come in thinking, law school, undergrad, I can do it. it's a total different beast. And I think that for me, what worked out was you definitely lose your weekends. You can't allocate time, I said, to date night or going to happy hour with friends or exercising, super important. I do that religiously, and I feel like it's definitely a stress reliever. Is just weekends for me. I mean, Saturday allocated to 2 subjects, Sunday to 2 subjects, so that way I was prepared during the week. And I would even come home after, by the time I got home, 10 o'clock at night, just maybe add in my notes into my outline for that class. But it's a lot of things coupled together that you're trying to get through, but it is very doable. And you may not get it right away, but as you go through it, you will find what works for you. And yeah, I mean, it is, looking back, I do miss first and second year actually, but yeah, it's definitely doable.
Do any of you guys have kids?
I do, but mine's an old lady.
There's a lot of people that are in our 4-year class that have kids.
And some had kids.
Some had
Wow.
kids right
First
to
year.
finals.
Yeah.
Some
Yep.
kids,
During
some,
school,
yeah,
yeah.
some students
Yep.
had, and they work full time. They're married to little ones.
Yes.
I don't even know. I'm a single person, no kids, not married, and I don't even know how they did it. Because sometimes I'm like, am I coming or going? You know. But it's the support. You know, it's the support.
I
It's
agree.
from. I honestly think that family is very important, but who you go to school with too is,
They
I mean,
become
without
family.
these two too, I mean, you really create friendships that help you get through these years, but that's different. Kids, yeah, it's just as supportive, and I mean, just allocate the time. She had kids during, right?
No,
Oh,
after.
that's right.
Yeah, after. But I was gonna say, I mean, I have a lot of friends who did have children. I think the way you have to think about law school, I mean, we're presenting it as not being this like easy thing I'm just gonna do on a whim, right? You have to understand that this is a commitment in a lot of different ways, and your family has to understand that too. So whether that's your parents, your spouse, your children, whatever level that is, they have to understand that they're going to be going through this process with you. I will tell you that at graduation, half of the speeches that students give are thanking their families because number one, their family gave them up for 3, 4, or 5 years to get through this, but it's an investment for your family because, you have to look at what you're doing now and you have to decide, if I'm going to commit this time, I'm going to get through it, I'm going to have a new career, and I'm going to have, a different life for my children. So I know a lot of the people that I went to school with felt that way. I had a very good friend who had his first daughter in December after our first midterms. And in my mind, she's kind of like our law school baby. I know how old she is based on how many years I've been out of my first year of law school. But he definitely had some sacrifices in her childhood, but she's doing really well now, and he's doing really well now, and it, it's a benefit for her. So
I'd like to just, Josh, Karina, Martha, and what's his name? Blondie. He had twins.
all had children during school.
Preston, yeah. I wanted to give you the names. These are all folks in our class that we've had the opportunity to see how they have managed with their children. Karina, we used to talk a lot about how she was doing things because I have a busy work schedule, but in my mind, it would be worse.
Doesn't she have
Three
or four?
I thought she had 3, but the
She's-
little one was 2.
Yeah, and this Karina, worked full time at a law firm her entire law school career. So she managed. She's got through it. She's an
Absolutely.
attorney now, and she's doing really well. So.
Oh, must be a different
Oh,
Karina,
different
'cause
Karina?
Yeah,
Oh,
because she's
still
in
in
our
school?
class, and she's in her
Oh.
last year with
Well,
us.
there, another one who
Yes.
has a bunch of kids. Never mind,
Absolutely.
sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
2 Karinas,
Yeah.
lots of kids.
But absolutely what was said, the familial support was absolutely significant, and they had an understanding. I remember when her husband lost his job, and she had to back up and do some things, and he ended up going on a rig for 8 weeks straight, so she had to do everything for those 8 weeks, but she did manage. And what I love about this program is it is very collaborative. It is not competitive. So we helped her when she needed help, and your incoming group become a family, and you will support each other in that way.
Someone else, oh, go ahead.
That's also a benefit of San Joaquin is that you have small class sizes. You literally know everybody that you're in class with, and you're not just a number to the professors. You are Lacey, Drew, Roxana. But Martha, there are times when her 8-year-old daughter was in the back of the class just hanging out on her, iPad because Martha just had to bring her to class. And the professors are totally okay with that, and it's just what goes with having a family and having night class. And so, people are very understanding here, students and teaching.
I brought my 2-month-old to one of those MCLE classes I was talking about earlier, the continuing education. We didn't have a sitter on a Saturday morning, so he learned about whatever ethics we were learning about that day, and, I don't think he remembers, but, it's just part of it. Everybody, all the faculty have families, and they understand. I was going to say another person I thought of that graduated last year, her spouse is in the military and was often deployed, and I think they have 3 kids, and that people do help you. If you need a little, you're like, oh, my brain was out that night, I don't remember these notes, you will have people helping you work through things, because like I mentioned, it's not cutthroat, it's not on a curve, nobody is trying to get one up on the other one. You really do work together here.
Lacey and I have a recording little thing going on that if she can't be in class, I record the lectures, airdrop it to her, vice versa, and I just sit there and listen to the lecture and get the notes. So people will help you out if there are events or times where you can't be in class.
When there are, not if there are.
Yeah, when there are.
When there are. Roxana, you mentioned that it's not like undergrad. Does anybody want to comment a little bit more on like what the kind of the day-to-day looks like and how it's a little bit different than what you might be used to?
I feel like you can take naps in undergrad. You can't really in law school.
You might want to, but
yeah,
you probably shouldn't.
It's very demanding. I think back and I look and I sometimes say to myself, if I worked as hard as I do now in undergrad, wow, I'd probably be pushing up to the 4.0s because it's a lot of work. But yeah, it's definitely different. It's a total different way of thinking. It's a total different way of learning, essay taking, how to write a law school exam, grasp the material in 4 different subjects. And usually when you're an undergrad, it's like your overview for 2 years, and then you kind of specialize in your degree. And here you take them all over the board. But I'm not trying to undermine undergrad because it is hard as well. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if I can articulate it correctly, but it's just totally different.
Yeah, to go off of what Roxanne said is, during undergrad, even before that, I guess, I was always a student, did the bare minimum, kind of, just showed up and passed, did okay, did probably better than okay, but never really applied myself or anything like that. I have nieces and nephews that are in college now and doing their undergrad studies, and they complain to me about how tough school is, and all I can do is, smile and laugh, because when you get to law school, if you're not mentally prepared before you are, that first week will really, wake you up. It's a sobering moment because, I don't know if you guys talked about being cold called or there's nothing worse than being called on in class and not knowing what you're talking about. And that will happen, whether you like it or not, however much you prepared. A professor will ask you a question, you have no idea what the answer is. But it's even worse when you don't prepare yourself for that day. You don't do the reading, you don't do whatever assignments are due. You won't get by. There are people that pretend like they're doing okay, do the bare minimum around here in their first year, and now in our 4th year, those people aren't around. So it's whatever mentality you had in undergrad, it's going to be a complete 180 when you start law school, because there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're going to have to apply yourself. You're going to have to try. You're going to have sleepless nights. You're going to stress over this material. You're going to question yourself more often than not. That's all to say where, if there's a will, there's a way, and it's doable. I mean, we've made it this far. People, all the pictures around the hallways, they've done it before, so it's not impossible.
Unlike Andrew, I was not a good student, and no.
I'll be honest, I was horrible.
were you? I tried.
I was the proverbial athlete, and I tell any students when I go out and talk with them, I was a nightlight coming out of high school, and I worked up to a 100-watt, and then I became a quartz halogen, and now the LEDs, I'm working on that type of illumination. But for me, going into law school, failure was an option. And I've done a lot of things in my life, but I knew that failure could potentially be that which waited for me at the end of my first year. Of course, I worked really, really hard so as not to let that happen, but I didn't have the skill base or the thought process, even after having those degrees. The difference between law school and a PhD is, at least with my PhD, it's in psychology, and I went down to Claremont, you worked hard enough, you could get the A. Here, it's not just about working hard, but it's about working hard and getting it right. With my athletics, practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And that's the difference between your top athletes and your not so top athletes. I was the not so top athlete, however, maybe middle echelons, but it has been an incredibly difficult journey. And why it has been difficult, I did this once before, and a gentleman asked, well, I know hard, I can do hard. That's not that big of a deal, but what kind of hard? And I thought about that, and I didn't answer this then, but I thought about what type of hard. It's constant. It is constant pressure. And that is where the cream rises to the top. Those folks who can deal with the pressure for either the 3-year program or the 4-year program and just keep getting up. Because you will be knocked down, but you just keep getting up. And that, I think, is our strength, right, is that failure is an option, but you're going to have to get us on the ropes and take us out. And I think we all have the capacity to just keep fighting, and that's, for me, my hard with law school. But it's going to be awesome in May.
And I don't say this that often either. You take real property your second year. I had it with both of them at night. I didn't pass my first semester.
Me and Ross were together.
There were some external factors that contributed to that. However, at the end of the day, it was me. I probably didn't put enough time into it. There was a very difficult subject in first semester real property that I just wasn't grasping. I probably could have started a little bit earlier to learn that portion. I try to master the other big material concepts and then get that last. And our professor is amazing. He's just not an easy grader. And those are actually, there are just 10 answers. There are 10 questions, and you answer them. And that didn't get me by. And I really, really felt like crap after that. It brought me down a lot. I felt like I wasn't, good enough and stuff like that. But the thing is you retake it. You can still go on to real property in the spring. You take it in the fall again. And that for me was a moment, because I did really well my first year, and that's why I was a little disappointed in myself. But when I retook it again, that's when I actually really realized, okay, this is what I need to do differently. This is actually what works for me. for that class. And I had to retake it, swallowed that, my pride, and I passed it. But there are gonna be times where you feel like you're gonna fail and you don't, and there are times where you're gonna feel like you fail and you do. And I remember coming out of that final and I called one of my friends and I started crying because I just felt like that last essay question was not gonna do it. And it sucks, but you just do it. As many times as you fail, it's not how many times, it's getting back up. And it's just redoing it. You're not the only one. I mean, people don't pass the bar on the first time. You just keep going, you keep doing it. We're not up here trying to scare you, we're just trying to be real with you guys and tell you how you know, it can be difficult, but it's also doable and it's fun sometimes. It's it's nice.
And I'll make a comment that as much as it was tough, it's probably been equally as rewarding. I feel like I really feel like a different person today than I was the day I started law school. I think a lot of that, and that's a good way to describe the hard. It is constant pressure, and I think that's the rewarding part is knowing that I got that in myself now, where before perhaps I just was never really pressured. And the skills you learn at law school are skills you can translate in any area of practice of law. So, for example, my undergrad was in criminology. I had stints at Fresno Public Defender's Office, Tulare Public Defender's Office, and I did a lot of law motion work, so research and writing. And the same skills that I took to research and write at the Public Defender's Office were the skills that I took and to research and write in civil practice. So I went from doing homicides, kidnappings, and to real property issues, suing mortgage companies or landlord-tenant issues. And so I mean, the areas of practice are totally opposite, but you're using the same skills that you acquire here in law school.
And the good thing about San Joaquin is that, like I said earlier, you're not a number. The professors actually know who you are, and they're available all the time. I mean, they're so good about making office hours for you and stuff, and when you get out into the real world, you use these skills, and we have judges that teach here and stuff like that, and I just think that they really help San Joaquin students reach their best potential in writing, in their classes, so it's also a benefit.
Is there another question?
I was just trying to make sense of, for Roxanne, you had said that you failed a class or a course.
I failed a semester of real property, yeah.
So when that happens, you said you had to retake it the next year. I'm just trying to make sense of how the classes work here. Is it like an extra class that you had to add to your next semester load?
So in my particular situation, you have real property 1, real property 2, so that's 1 full year broken up into 2 semesters. So that's my second year. So when I did not pass real property 1, since it's offered in the fall, I took it the next fall, which luckily I was able to, because I had to push wills up. I'm graduating, and usually wills, when you're in the FourYear program, is a 3rd-year class, and I'm taking it in my 4th year, just because it, landed on the exact same. I couldn't take wills in the fall, because I had to take real property. I chose to take the night class because I do really like that instructor. I could have possibly taken it during the day, but I was being stubborn and I stuck with the night professor.
So you can jump back.
You can jump, you can alter. First year you can't really. Second year not too much. It's mostly 3rd and 4th where you can interchange. You can take a 4-year class in your 3rd year, your 3rd-year class in your 4th, push a couple electives up. Just as long as when you are graduating, you have met, I think, 68 units, electives, and your substantive classes. So it works out. I mean, you just gotta rearrange the schedule, and if you guys do work, that's a little bit more, full-time, a little bit more limited.
There's flexibility, and there's also guidance counselors.
Yeah,
and people that will help you
yeah.
figure out, your
Because I
schedule.
did freak out. I was like, oh my gosh, what does this mean for my next year? How am I gonna do this? But, I mean, they email you already and tell you, hey, these are your options before you're even thinking about it. So
And I can add to that, because I too did not pass real property my first semester or my second semester. So I had to take the entire year of real property a second time. And as I tell my students that take my class, maybe you just need to do it twice. And I did.
It's not an easy class.
No, not only is it not an easy class, but as Roxana had mentioned, I was having not only the work, but some personal things that were going on and loss and blah, 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 and that's life. How I did it was I continued the coursework that I was supposed to take, and I took that class over. So I had an extra class. I did shift a little bit from these guys because second year you're supposed to take biz orgs. Because of my work schedule, I ended up taking con law my second year instead of con law in the third year. So I kind of
You can
vary, and that's the flexibility of the program.
Right.
So I have courses in my third and fourth year that these two,
Second or second year.
second and third, just because of the work schedule, because of the failure. I wish our society thought of failure as learning opportunities. Because the bottom line is look at how many people who are unbelievably successful. You talk to them, they've used failure as an opportunity. So,
I bet when you guys study for the bar, real property is gonna be,
oh,
no, it is, it's gonna come back to you,
Absolutely.
it really will.
I actually
Yeah.
understood it the second time.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Pretty
I was like,
awesome.
wow, I got this. And the part that I failed was my highest part on that. It's crazy.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm not gonna fail again. Did you have a question in the
In the
back?
back.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering if, because it was like 86 units, is there any units that can be transferable if you took like courses on the side or anything, or is it only through this program? I was just curious.
The only units that I believe would transfer are units from another law school, and there is like a way that I do know people have transferred after like say their first year at another school, but those are the only units that, from my understanding, are transferable.
There was also a guy in our year, he did sports law down in Southern California this past summer, and he got the units for it. So I think you can do elective units.
If it has to be like law school.
Yeah.
Right, it has to be law
Yeah.
related.
Because I didn't get squat for my PhD.
You would think so.
I-
Can you switch in between programs? Let's say you started with the 3-year and then
Yes.
you decided you need a 4-year.
You can, yeah. You can
Darcy
start off.
did that.
Yeah, you can start off in the 3-year program. Yeah, she had a.
Baby.
Yeah, so someone who's graduating with us was on the 3-year, and she had a kid, and so she decided, hey, maybe the 4-year. And if you do 3-year, and you're like, you know what? I think that the 4-year path is going to be a little bit better for me. You can switch, and then you can also, if you're on the 4-year program and you come out with a certain GPA at that end, your first year, you can then opt to go into the 3-year program. So yeah.
What are the differences between the programs for yours?
3-year, I believe it's
Coursework.
it's the amount of classes.
The amount of classes,
So I
yeah.
think it's 6 classes your
Yeah.
first year, which is normally 4 for us. And yeah,
It
throughout the whole
continues up,
3 years. So it's pretty impacted.
A lot of the 3-year students are more like full-time students.
are.
I know people
Yeah.
that did 3-year and did a few internships here and there,
Yeah.
but they're not the ones that are like working the 8 to 5s.
I don't think
you know.
they let you either.
Yeah,
because
there's
you have to take
restrictions,
majority
yeah.
of all day classes, and you can only take, I think, 1 night, and that can be your choice. But you
Yeah.
have to, I think, be here from, during the day. You have to take the day classes for the 3-year program.
My kid she's in the 3-year program, and she's in her second year now. And her first year, it was 6 classes. This year, it's been pretty significant. She's actually got, I don't want to call it an internship. She applied and began working with an attorney in town on criminal defense cases. So that's units on top of her load.
Yeah, you can get clinical units for working in law firms.
So the
Um,
longer,
elective units.
you go to school like the 4-year program, your classes are more
Spread
spread
out.
out.
They're-
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
it's just
everybody's
a-
taking the
that's it.
same
Same
amount of
number of
classes
units.
and the same number of
Okay.
units.
But the
I was
3-year
fine.
students in our very last year, the 3-year students end up with us 4th years because
Right.
they're
Correct.
yeah. So you all, and then yeah, like she said, I'm at the DA's office and that's my job, but I also do it for clinical units as
And
well.
the longest one is 4 or 5?
There's a 5-year program.
Okay.
So, that does extend it a little bit more. And you also, I have a friend who started with me who, because of work and life and everything,
Right.
extended to the 5-year program. So you don't have to choose that at the beginning either.
And there are people that come in your first year, may not take one class, say you don't take contracts, but you have Civ Pro, torts, and legal methods, and you pass your first year, then you can take contracts your second, and just one class would be pushed up every year, but you still graduate in the 4 years.
So,
Oh, I had another question
Okay.
about the ABA. So, say if we do everything, we take our bar exam and how long do we have to work in Fresno before we can go to a different state?
it depends on the state that you want to go to. So it's between 3 to 5 years. There's information on every like state's bar or bar website, but it's really hard to say. What I would do right now if I were you, and if I knew that at some point I wanted to work in another state, I would research that state and find out, because there may be a couple states that you may not be able to. I don't know what all the rules are, but I would just make sure, if that's important to you, that you research that now.
Yeah, when you're saying 6 classes, you mean a semester, I'm presuming?
Yeah.
How many semesters are there in a year? Is it just 3, or is it split up
2.
and more?
Well, there's 2, and then there are summer classes.
Yeah.
So the summer school is shorter, but there's a lot of electives that are offered during summer. Or you can not go to class and do the clinical unit, elective units, working at jobs. So there's options.
It's like falls, August to December, spring, January to May, and then summer.
Okay.
Is there additional cost for the summer?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
the units, it's unit cost,
Okay.
yeah. So all the classes are just based on the paying per unit, and so you're gonna pay for them whether it's in the summer or the next fall or whenever. I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. In a minute, I'm gonna ask each of the students to just close with one thing that they like best about law school, or a closing thought that they wanna leave you with. But before we do that, please remember to turn in your purple information sheets at the back. There's a chair at the back right there for you to leave them there before you leave. And again, as Diane had mentioned, we want to welcome you back to the law school on April 12th for the career panel and April 23rd for the LSAT forum. So I just wanted, like I said, to close with a thought from each of the students. So Roxanna, if you wanted to start. What did I say? I said one thing you like best about the law school, or just a closing thought you wanted to leave them with.
Law school has really, I don't know which one said, has really made me into the person who I am today, academically, personally. I'm really proud of myself. Like they said, it's really, really hard. But if you want something, go get it. Do it. I mean, it's doable, and you have support from family and friends. And yeah, I mean, at least, you tried and you did it. And sometimes some people, if it's not for them and they realize that, that's totally fine too. But I have enjoyed this experience, and I will definitely say I like the classroom setting, so I'm going to miss that. But yeah.
I would just leave you guys with, tell you or to emphasize that, as much as going to school is a selfish thing, that your friends and family are going to school with you. So get your house in order, get your family in order. Let them understand that this is something that you want to do, and if it is something that you want to do, that it's going to take a lot from you, time-wise, effort, and it's going to take a lot of understanding on their part. And I guess the one thing I do like about law school is, I found a second family here. Like I said, I don't have family here in town, so it's pretty cool to come to class at night and at least now feel like I'm at home. So
And you're all in the same boat
Yeah.
at 6:30 at night, 8
Yeah,
o'clock
yeah,
at night.
everyone's tired from the day, everyone's drinking.
Grabbing
drinking
snacks
cool
from the
with it,
vending
yeah.
machine.
So, you're in good company around here.
I guess a couple of things. The program will certainly test your limits. And I hope that you all have the courage to do that. I know a lot of people who sit on the doorstep and say, I can do that. But they never try. I would hope that you actually try and fail rather than not try at all, because then you know that you can or you cannot. I think that is quite significant. And then the other thing is the difference between sacrifice and choice. I think that they're the opposite sides of the same coin. But people who say they sacrifice something for blah, 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 often are angry and ticked. A lot of the times because they've had to do that for this. But really, if you step back and you say, all right, are you going to feel that way? Or is it your choice? Yes, I'm going to choose this instead of that right now. You'll have much more positive outcome because it became a choice rather than something you didn't want to do. And so remember those two things, and it is definitely worthwhile. I certainly have tested my limits, and I have seen an ugly belly of Lacey, but I also think I'll come through it along with my colleagues in a much more positive way, and I hope that all of you will challenge yourselves to do that. It's worth it.
Definitely worth it.
Thank you, guys.
Contact San Joaquin College of Law at 559-323-2100 or visit www.sjcl.edu.